Hey there, everybody. Welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and welcome to another gacha revenue video. So we're going to go over the numbers for Sword of Convallaria and a few other games that could be interesting to us, but normally I'm a Sword of Convallaria first channel, so we're going to go with that. But we'll check out two other games that I personally am interested in, three other games actually that I'm interested in. But first thing, it's going to be different than normal, because if you click on gacha revenue, the site I've been using, it just takes you straight to Sensor Tower. And so it's going to give us basically Sensor Tower data, but I think the Sensor Tower data seems wrong, or it's out of date or something. I think it's just out of date, but let me explain why. First, let's open this in a new tab. So if you look at Sensor Tower data, it looks really bad. It's like all of XD only made $800,000, and it's like $520,000 over all versions of Sword of Convallaria. However, I don't think that's accurate, because if we come over here and we look at what, at least if it's accurate, then what we were using before was inaccurate, if that makes sense, right? And so if we assume that this was an accurate thing, this is from last month, what we were using. This has Love at Deep Space just on the Chinese version at a $33 million. And if we come over here, the same version, I think has, it says last updated 4 months ago as well. It's only at like 800,000, 2 million, 4 million, right? So it's like, this seems to be like almost 10x less than what it's supposed to be. Maybe not quite, maybe like 8 or 9x less. But so I'm not going to be trusting these numbers just based off if we were using these numbers. I'm just going to use the other numbers. So we're not going to use that. However, again, just because Love in Deep Space did not drop that much, I guarantee you Love in Deep Space is doing good. And so we're going to use something called App Magic, which I think is going to be more accurate. So this had it at $33 million last month, and now it's saying in the Chinese version is at about $20 million. So this is probably a little more accurate. So we're going to use this for the Sword of Convallaria and the other games that I'm interested in. So first, let's take a look. So this is Sword of Convallaria, and it's actually cool because you could see all the versions of the game that you want to right here. Its entire revenue is roughly $1 million. So it's only about double what the worst case scenario is. But if we bring out a calculator here, actually, we don't need to bring out a calculator. It tells us. So Japan is about 500,000. I know this is really small. All right, let's see if I can make it big enough for you guys to see it. Japan is about 38% or $500,000. United States, so global is going to have a bunch of these, but we're about 200,000. And then Korea is about 100,000. So in the United States, it's not that popular. Taiwan, Hong Kong, ugh. Yeah, and then you can see all the other countries are about 1%, or maybe it's 10% combined. I mean, you can view it as a graph. I don't think it's that important. The point is, it's not very good. Let's take a look. If we go like at lifetime, it's at $20 million, and most of it has been in China. And so, but if we get rid of it in the last 30 days, where's China on here? Right here, $100,000. That's not very good. So yes, it is down a lot. And this is, I mean, even the downloads are below 5,000. So that actually is pretty accurate from sensor data. And the 200,000 is actually pretty accurate. If you look at this one is about 200,000. I just don't think it's calculating all of the stuff correctly, but it seems like this one is actually pretty accurate. 200,000 for this is just saying is only United States, and this is saying for all global. So I do think that this information is still probably more accurate, but I'll be honest, it's not very good. That is a pretty big drop off in general. What was it before? Let's take a look here. So if we take a look at last month on the gacha revenue site, it has a total of $2,075,000. And this is a little bit of an apples to oranges thing because we're comparing it to a different site. And so maybe they're tracking things differently versus, Apple versus iOS. Just data can be inconsistent depending on how you calculate it. But if we look over here, this is at $2,075,000, and now this is saying this is under $1 million. So that's about almost a 62% decrease in revenue month to month after a roughly another overall 50% decrease probably month to month if you're counting all versions of the game added up, So I mean, honestly, it's a little, I do think it is concerning. I'm not a doomer. I don't think the game is just EOSing anything like that. I think they have a lot of events coming up, lots of characters coming up. And they're still making a million. If they're so last month I said they were making millions of dollars. Now this month I have to say, well, they're making about $1 million. So it's starting to get a little bit worse. But I still think they have a lot of stuff in here. But this is something you're gonna have to turn the ship. You're gonna have to do something. This is dropping kind of like a rock month over month over month. It's like all gacha games go down, right? Of course. But this is dropping really fast. Just in general, like, okay, maybe I can't use that feature, but it is just going down very, very quick, unfortunately. And is this because new games are coming out? People are saving? Is it because the game is just boring and there's nothing to do? Is it because if it's a fringe IP and people have jumped off to the new thing? I don't know. I think it's a combination of the game just not being that engaging, in the sense of if you're kind of caught up, there's just like, what am I doing? I'm logging in and doing dailies and logging out. That's all I'm doing. And then besides that, you don't really need to buy characters, because at this point, a lot of people just have teams that can clear the content whenever they do add it. And then even beyond that, it's like, it's just, there's not a lot of, like, people complain about the shop a lot. I think the shop is reasonable, but a lot of people say that there aren't, you know, the shop is static. There isn't like ways to try to squeeze more out of whales and stuff like that. So for the most part, I mean, everyone I talk to says the same thing. Fantastic game being ran by a company that really doesn't know what they're doing. And I don't want to say they don't know what they're doing, because like they're probably very competent at their company overall. Right. I mean, if you look at downloads and revenue and stuff, like they see Ooh La La is at 100 million, this says. So I don't know. I mean, they're maybe very good, but if they're competent, they're not doing this game well. This game is just not being ran very well. I mean, and I can understand, once your revenue gets low enough, do you want to spend like hundreds of man hours and maybe thousands of man hours to create handcrafted content that's enjoyable and engaging when the game's only making $1 million? Or do you just keep releasing characters that you've already made in the past and you just get as much money as you can before you EOS? I mean, I don't know. I hope they turn the ship, but I am a little more than just pessimistic. I'm still not doomer. I don't think the game is ending. I think we got at least another 6 months minimum, but I don't know. If it drops another 50% and another 50%, it could be trouble. So if you do like the game, I do encourage you to spend money on the game, but because it's a vicious cycle. You know, if only spend what you can afford. Don't try to keep a game alive by yourself. That's not your job. If you enjoy a game and you get hundreds of hours out of it and it's worth $5 to $10 a month for you to get the passes, I think that's a great way to support the game, to show them that you still like it and you're interested. And if enough people do that, the game will just stay alive, just from the fact that they have a consistent revenue. But also, like, when people think the game is dying, they stop spending, and the stop spending causes people to think the game is dying. And it's the spiral, right? Is the less people spend, the less revenue the game makes, the less content they make. The less content they make, the less players want to spend money, and the less money they spend, the less it's like. So it is on a downward spiral, and I think they are going to have to turn the ship basically to make this work. Because even this, like, if I use sensor data, it looks unfathomably bad, like really, really bad. I don't even know how to find it, but like this just seems like really bad. Can we go back to see just all of them? If we go to XD, like this only shows 800,000 revenue for the whole company, right? And then like this looks like that looks bad. This is better, and it still looks really bad. So, you know, it's only made $20 million in its lifetime. Almost all of it has been from China. Half of it's from China. But yeah, so I'm actually a little nervous. I mean, this isn't the only game I'm playing, right? I've started to shift my focus to Girls Frontline 2 as well, but I do want sort of Convallaria to keep living, but I'm nervous about it. I'll be honest. Last month I was like, yeah, I'm nervous, but the game's doing fine. But this is the first month where I'm really like, all right, I'm worried now. I am actually worried about, like, I don't think we're going to get 2 years. If this is the rate, I don't think we're making it to 2 years. I think 1 year is optimistic if this is the path that the game looks like it's going, but we'll see how the 6 month thing keeps going. And maybe this data is off and they're kicking ass. I hope so. Another game I wanted to look at, I want to look at Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. So the other ones I wanted to quickly look at here was Octopath Traveler COTC, which is what this says, I believe, because I Google translated it. because they just announced that they are selling the game from Square Enix to, I think NetEase is buying it. So I want to keep an eye on this over the next couple months, especially because I think the acquisition goes mid-January. So February, I'm very interested to see. I think I'm going to pick the game back up closer to when they change companies, because maybe they're going to try to, because they just spent a bunch of money on the game. I assume they didn't spend so much money that they want to spend $500,000. Like, they must have spent over $500,000, I assume, like, because they're probably down the hole right now, and they're hoping to keep it alive for enough to make some money. So I'm thinking they might put a lot of effort behind it, and at least in the short term, to see if they can kind of push it to be bigger, you know. And it's made $50 million since release, almost all in Japan. In fact, it says around $50 million Japan, $5 million US. So I mean, look, there's under $5,000 being spent US right now. That's that's 3 players, you know. That's one whale and a second megalodon, and then a bunch of free to play. The other one I want to look at is Girls Frontline 2 Exilium. So I don't know if this is all the versions of the game, if it's only in China right now and global's coming out. It's it only made 200,000 last month, which is about the same as Sword of Convallaria, so not good. But if you actually come to Sword of Convallaria, I suppose, and you look at their China version, right, it's making 100,000, so it's about doing twice as good as Sword of Convallaria. And so I think we can expect for the Japan and United States to really kick this up, and this game is going to make multiple millions on its first month when it comes out. And so it's going to be a big success at first, especially, again, they have 50 million pre-registers, 5 million pre-registers. I don't even remember. It was some, it's like one of those numbers that's like, it's 100 bajillion, you know? But yeah, so this game is not doing incredibly well either, but obviously we'll just see how good global does. If they do a good job at global, then that'll be that. But yeah, basically that is all I have today. Sword of Convallaria looks like to be not in a great spot, but I would be worried, but I wouldn't be terrified. It's kind of like, yeah, if you love the game and you don't care if it EOS's, if you love the game, it's worth throwing a couple bucks in to support it. I also would not recommend spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on characters for a game that isn't really releasing content, and a game that I'm not sure about the long-term health of it. Just be aware when you spend money, no matter what, there's no such thing. It's not an investment. All right, when you spend money in a gacha, you're not investing. You never get anything out of it. You never get more money. You get zero money out, no matter how much money you put in. And so when you're spending a bunch of money in a gacha, consider that luxury money and spend your money in a way that, assume that the second you spend it, it's gone and you're never getting back. That way, you're not going to feel as bad when things close, right? Don't get your identity tied up into a gacha game and how much money you've spent in it. Always be prepared for it to EOS, just as a general rule of thumb, because they will all die. And Sword of Convallaria is a little bit closer than I thought it would be at this point, if I'm being completely honest. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you very much. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye! On the rise, watch the views go.